Welcome to Built to Finish. I'm your host, Stephen Pivnik. Join me each week as we explore the journeys of audacious goal setters. This includes experienced founders, CEOs, and entrepreneurs sharing pivotal moments that propel their success. We'll also be talking with endurance athletes who push the limits of physical and mental ability. This show is brought to you by Acresis, offering tailored, high-impact advisory services to help founders get to their finish line with a strategic acquisition or majority investor recapitalization. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to another episode of Built to Finish. Today's guest is a world-renowned executive, advisor, and thought leader. With more than 25 years at the forefront of technology innovation, he has shaped the future of business and technology. From pioneering early social media patents to leading billion-dollar consulting practices at PwC, KPMG, and Unisys. He's advised some of the world's most influential organizations like 3M, Amazon, NASA, Intel, PayPal, and Major League Baseball, among many others, and continues to guide leaders and boards on building future-ready, resilient businesses. He is the founder of Thinkers360. Nick Evans, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Stephen. Great to be with you.
No, it's great to have you as well. So you worked with some amazing organizations. Of the ones that I've mentioned, what do you think was your most exciting project?
Gee, that's a tough question. I think they're all very, very different. But each one just kind of immerses you in a totally different world. So whether it's, retail with Best Buy or consulting to NASA, everyone is very different and has their own unique challenges and opportunities. So it's kind of hard to pick one, but as a consultant, it's fun being able to kind of dive into different industries. And obviously, as consultants, we try to get up to speed as quickly as we can, right? So that's the mark of a good consultant is you can be thrown somewhere in an industry maybe you're not that familiar with, and you're a quick study, right? So you have to just get up to speed quickly. But also there's a lot of parallels and cross-pollination too. So what you learn in one industry, say in the government space, you can transfer that, some of that knowledge becomes useful elsewhere. So yeah, that's part of the fun of being a consultant is, getting to see a variety of clients. And that's really what makes it fun.
No, that is one of the many fun things about being a consultant. I completely agree. Are you able to share some of the work that you've done with NASA?
Yeah, I mean, I think to an extent it was, we used to do a lot of innovation workshops. So, a workshop means 101 different things to different people, right? But the workshops we did, this was over at, when I was at Unisys as Chief Innovation Officer over at Unisys. And so we had a team of probably about 40, on my team, we had about 40 different innovation workshop facilitators around the world to give us the geographic and language coverage. And we would run these kind of 1 or 2 day sessions with clients. And really it was just kind of a design thinking or a kind of a group brainstorming session. So the client would bring their people, we'd bring our people, and we weren't selling or positioning anything. We were just kind of helping the client with their challenges and coming up with ideas and using software to capture the list, capture 100 ideas or so. We'd go through voting, we'd prioritize the ideas. And the fun part of it was so hands-on that the clients really liked it too. So we weren't just presenting to them with PowerPoint, but it was very much hands-on, coming up with ideas, and the client coming up with their ideas, putting them in the system, and then everyone getting to vote on the ideas, So we quickly surfaced what were the high priority, both, tactical as well as strategic ideas. So yeah, just a very fun, simple process. Yeah.
Interesting. So speaking about process, obviously a process at Amazon a couple of days ago went south. And as a result, half of the internet went down. It's kind of hard to believe that there's a single point of failure in the DNS database for half of the world's websites. What is your take on all that, and how just how fragile is the internet infrastructure if something like a simple DNS mistake can cause such a massive outage?
Yeah, I think these things kind of happen, every few years or so. There's kind of like maybe a minor outage. And so I think as a business person, if you have a company on the internet, you have your own website, etc., you just got to be prepared for that. And sometimes you don't really know the consequences in advance because there's a lot of ripple effects as well. So all those vendors that work with Amazon, for example, might get impacted to some greater or lesser extent. So yeah, you can get some kind of unknown or unintended consequences too. So I think as a business person, just prepare for it. Definitely lean on your CIO or your CISO, your chief information security officer. Often the first thing I think of when these things happen is I think it's a cyber attack, right? So I think it's definitely be prepared for these things and have a backup plan, but be very agile too. So I think I did a book a few years ago on business agility and what we call adaptability. And so for business these days, because there's so much disruption day to day, whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing, just so much change, right? New tech, right? Technology disruption just from AI and new tech coming in, but also business disruptions from pandemics and climate change, weather events. So as a business, what I say nowadays is, really try and design your business to be highly agile and adaptive, a bit like the military with the DEFCON system, right? They can jump from DEFCON 2 to 3 or whatever the numbers might be. They don't have to think about how to do it, right? They're trained, they're rehearsed, and they can just flip to that level, that readiness level
Sure,
right away.
it's
Yeah.
pre-programmed, and they go through many
Yeah.
drills to go from one to the next, right?
Yeah. So that's kind of what you want to do with your business. I would recommend as well, both for government entities and corporate. Um, don't just dive into AI and just pursue all the AI projects you can. Think about your business as how resilient is it? How adaptive is it to tech disruption, business disruption? Can you build in some intrinsic agility into how you operate your business? And that way you're more prepared when things do change, when the environment changes.
What could have a company done? So there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of companies that were affected a couple of days ago. What could they have done differently in order to not be part of this massive outage that occurred?
Yeah, I would say just have a lot of backup plans and duplicate systems and things like that. So it's kind of it's kind of going back to triathlon and things like that. It's the weakest link, right? So is the one area that you might be exposed, like in your supply chain? Do you count on just one supplier, or do you have one customer? If 80% of your revenue is from one customer, it might be time to diversify, right? So it's always thinking about that weakest link. And then the triathlon parallel is what's your weakest sport? Is it swim, bike, run? If it's running, which is my weakest,
Oh, is
um,
it?
yeah. So you might want to. I need to practice more, concentrate more on the running than the swim and bike. So it's kind of always monitoring the situation, knowing where you stand, and kind of working on those vulnerabilities, right?
Sure. No, I agree. So in your introduction, I didn't mention your triathlon accomplishments, and you've been at a championship on a couple of different times. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's all amateur racing. So just age group. We have, as you know, there's a 5-year increment for each age group. So it's nothing like the pro level. So it's just different age groupers competing against each other. And the nice thing about that is, we can age and we can still have a lot of fun and be competitive even at an older age. So it's really nice to be able to participate in sport in later years of life. And you can kind of make up for what you might have missed when you're younger too. So it gives you a way to kind of recapture some of that youth as well.
I love it. I'm not looking forward to getting older, but one benefit is going to be aging into a category which is less competitive than the one I'm in right now, because I do have hopes of getting back to Kona one day to the Ironman World Championship, but there's no way that's happening in my current age group. So I'm gonna have to wait at least 10 years to give that a go again.
Yeah, and yeah, you can always, if you outlast your competition, right? There's a really interesting kind of bell curve if you look at the number of triathletes in each age group. There's kind of that classic distribution of the bell curve. So I think it's the kind of late 30s, definitely 40s, early 50s is the peak. So once you get into that 60 plus age group, um, the competition starts to disappear for various reasons, right? Maybe knees, and they don't want to run anymore, things like that. So, but actually, it's very interesting from a data analytics standpoint. If you start looking at all the data, people don't actually taper off much when they get older. There's still people running super fast in their 60s or 70s. So there is a bit of I think it's 1 minute per year or something like that we lose as athletes.
I've heard that, yes.
Yeah. So we do lose a little, but people are still highly competitive in those later age groups too. So it gets a little bit easier, but it's still competitive.
It it is. Are you currently training for any races?
Yeah, I'm getting ready for the Ironman 70.3 in Cartagena.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that's one of I think it's in the top 3 for being the toughest due to the weather conditions. So it's 88 degrees all year round, and the humidity is super high. So I did the race back in 2022, and the hardest factor was just that heat. And yeah, even though you start early, you're finishing around lunchtime. So you've got the heating and humidity to deal with. And it's just so different from, a nice kind of 70 to 80-degree weather that we're used to as well.
Yeah, as if a triathlon wasn't hard enough, doing it in the heat and humidity of that climate just adds to the challenge and to the sense of accomplishment when you're done.
Yeah, I think back in 2022, it was just so tough. I said, never, never again. So, but the weeks go by, and then you kind of remember it. You have good memories. The race was fantastic because the whole city was lined with the public supporting all the athletes. So it's just an amazing atmosphere there. So it's great to compete in that atmosphere.
Yeah, I love the venues where like the entire town comes out. Then again, they have not much else to do because Ironman pretty much shuts down the town because there's no traffic allowed during the race. So some communities are totally supportive of the races, and when they all come out in droves, it's really fun to watch and be part of. I mean, racing in the heat, that reminds me of a race I did in Florida last year. I signed up for Ironman Florida, the full distance race. It was so it's a very, very flat course, but it's a very hot course, and they ran out of water on the bike course. So I stopped at I think the aid station at mile 40 or so, and there was no water. So I went on to mile 60, still no water. And then by the third, I think aid station at mile 80-ish, still no water. And I'm like, I just can't. I started cramping up. I was completely dehydrated, and I wasn't going to risk hurting myself by continuing the race. So me and about 2 dozen others, like right there on the spot, and that was just at that moment, just dropped out of the race because it was just dangerous to continue.
Yeah, that's right. I think people, that's a really smart move because I think a lot of people, they'll see those classic finish line videos, right, where someone's struggling and their legs are going, right, and they're trying to get to the finish line, and they think, oh, that's just a leg, the muscles are sore, they just can't make it, and just give them 5 minutes to get another 50 yards, right? But that's medically, you got to be there immediately. It's what's happening is their body's going into a shutdown mode. The brain's taking over from the body because maybe they're suffering from heat exhaustion. Blood pressure's dropping. They're in kind of a crisis mode medically. So if anyone does see anyone like that at the finish line or before the finish line, they need immediate medical attention. You can't just let them try to finish. And so that's kind of a common misconception, I think, with, seeing people rating, especially in your category of doing Ironmans, the full distance. It's just you got to be hydrated. You got to keep that body temperature down. It's just very serious on the organs as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and what year did you achieve your championship in?
Yeah, one was, I think one was about 2011 and another one was 2019. So it's quite a number of years apart. And it doesn't get easier, to try and do it a second time. It seems a bit harder actually.
Well, congratulations. That's an incredible accomplishment. I mean, I crossed the finish line and race after race after race, and I'm just happy to be done. And I really don't care much about my placement, but coming in first is an incredible accomplishment. Congrats on that.
Oh, thanks.
So back to business and everybody's favorite topic these days, AI. I mean, the amount of change is just staggering, and there's just so many new developments, literally almost on a daily basis. How do you personally keep up with it, and what type of advice are you giving clients on how they keep up with all the advancements?
Yeah, so I do some of that on a personal basis. So I have a column in CIO.com for chief information officers. And so I write a regular column, probably about once a month. Been doing that for 15 years or more. And I've been writing a lot about AI recently and agentic AI agents, and so on. And trying to kind of look at the reality of what's happening. There's a lot of hype in the marketplace. So if you go on LinkedIn, it's all being hyped as, you know, um, end of consulting, whatever it might be. So what I try to do is talk to folks and peers around around the globe, either in software companies or consultancies or tech vendors too, and just get their perspective on what's happening, what are the challenges, where's it working well, where's the ROI, etc. And so we kind of find our way through. And and with Thinkers360, my company, we actually connect brands with thought leaders and authors, influencers, and speakers. And so we have brands that are working with us that are maybe doing AI marketing campaigns. So we're connecting them with AI thought leaders, and we're doing kind of social media marketing, things like that, or white papers to help the brand. So the brand kind of works with us and then we find the thought leaders from our platform, Thinkers360, and source them. So connecting those brands with the thought leaders. But I think my background in actually working in AI, I've worked a lot in AI going back many years, 10, 15 years ago. And so that helps a lot. And I'm able to share, personal experience as well. And we're implementing AI inside of Thinkers360 as well. So we have a bit of fun with that. We work with a company called Lyzr, LYZR, .ai. And so we get to experiment with the tech ourselves as well.
Hey everyone, just a quick reminder that the Built to Finish podcast is brought to you by Accresis. Accresis have helped over 30 founders generate over $1 billion in wealth via strategic acquisitions or investor recapitalizations. If you're the owner of a middle market company and want to explore what a potential exit will look like for you so that you can finally realize the value of what you've been working so hard on, please do contact Accresis via the website accresis.com or hit me up on LinkedIn for more information at Stephen Pivnik. Now, back to the show. Nice. Can you share exactly what is your use case? How are you using AI in Thinkers 360?
Yeah, we're just doing some simple things right now. So we're doing obviously the website chatbot that's trained. It's trained. We've trained it on our data, and so it can answer questions. We've also got one for our brands where they can ask questions, and the AI is trained on our influencer community, so it knows who's ranking well for AI thought leadership and things like that. And so that's one more. It's an AI agent that supports the brands and their marketing campaigns. And then we're also working on one that's actually trained on each thought leader, and it kind of becomes their persona, their AI persona. And that's a very popular use case right now, where you have an expert, you train the AI on their thought leadership content, books, videos, podcasts, and then you can basically ask that agent questions, and you get access to like Stephen's knowledge, right? Your knowledge on whatever the topics are.
So somebody can speak with my digital twin, and that twin answers based on whatever knowledge I have fed it. My
Yeah,
my book, my blogs, my
yeah.
podcast, etc. That's fascinating.
And we just finished a AI trust index as well. And so this was the third year we ran it. And what we do is we ask, it's just a survey, and we're asking sentiment about how the public feels about AI, their level of trust in AI. And then also we ask the vendor community their sentiment as well. And the concern is actually still quite high. So even though AI is kind of mainstream right now in terms of adoption, the concern level is, I think it was 307 out of 400 on a 0 to 400 scale. So people are still, still somewhat concerned about certain elements of AI, like privacy. That was one of the big ones in this year's study that we found. They're also worried a bit about the singularity as well, so that's kind of interesting too. Yeah.
Scary stuff. Scary, fascinating, but scary at times. Do you think we're in an AI bubble?
Yeah, it's interesting. The vendors that are doing so well with AI right now, they're gonna rush to tell you, "No, we're not in a bubble, and here's why." And they're writing a lot of articles about it, but they're obviously a biased party, right? So to really get to the bottom of it, you just have to look at what's happening. And yeah, I think we are in somewhat of a bubble. I think there will be a bit of a correction there with the valuations. And so there's a lot of parallels from the year 2000 and the internet bubble. So now the bubble, saying that there's an AI bubble doesn't mean there's no value to AI. So there's obviously incredible value, just like with the internet era, right? The bubble burst, but we still 20 years later, 25 years later, we've seen tremendous economic value, obviously from the web and the internet. So yeah, there's tremendous value, but I would say it is a little bit overhyped and overvalued right now. But I think it will kind of correct itself and continue on its upward path. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. There's definitely going to be long term value is being created, and this will be around for many years to come. Speaking about value, you were one of, if not the original pioneer of the buy now concept, or the buy now button on the web. Can you share some more details about that? Because I found that fascinating when looking up details on you.
Oh, yeah, sure. It's yeah, inventors actually have a tough time. So um, many original inventors of technology or products or whatever it might be, they're often unrecognized, and other players come in and kind of market better or advance the tech in some way. So yeah, I had in the late 90s, I had an auction website, and it actually had different modes of commerce. So it had auctions, but it also had other mechanisms like bring and buy sale, which is popular in the UK. That's kind of a swap kind of exchange. And so we put back in like 1999, we had the buy now button on our auction. because we were experimenting with different modes of commerce, as we called it. And we thought, hey, it would be great. We know people are impatient, right? So we knew people might want to buy something and not wait till the end of the auction. So we actually put the buy now button into our technology before any other player even had a buy now button. Um, and basically it was live on the internet. And we had attorneys. There's some things we patented that we sold later to large tech firms, and did really well from, the patent sales. This was one that we got bad advice from the attorney, right? And he said, "No, it's not patentable. It's just a button." But obviously, there's all that process behind the button, the logic, right? So because we didn't patent it, we lost out on probably $50 million of value.
That is really bad advice, but that is 100% patentable.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the advice for, if you have a startup or anyone with an idea, definitely talk to attorneys, think about trademarks and patents. It is expensive, so it's tough to go crazy and try and patent all your ideas, but definitely think about if you're a business owner, think about your portfolio and what's your core IP, and if you have anything that's very differentiated or unique, talk to an attorney and really explore, is it patentable? And even trademarks.
Talk to a really good attorney, not the one that you spoke with on this specific instance.
Yeah. So yeah, it got picked up later, about a few months later, because it was just out there on the internet, and so it was there for all to see, and it had no protection. So that's kind of an interesting lesson. Be careful what you put out on the internet, because it will get picked up and used by others. So
Very expensive lesson learned. That could have been a really big payday.
yeah.
So, is there an example of a patent that did go well for you?
Yeah, I think we had some of the early social media patents. So we had a lot of customer service type patents that one of them we sold um, probably in the early 2000s, and it was kind of like an exchange for customer service feedback, rating, and ranking. So you could complain about McDonald's or something, right? And it would be a portal where we're connecting consumers with the corporate entity for customer service. So just a kind of a centralized hub for complaints and comments and questions, and then kind of feeding that to the organizations so they can respond. And so it had a lot of elements of social media and comments, questions, things like that. Yeah.
How long did that patent process take you?
Oh, they're pretty quick, really. The I think putting the idea on paper doesn't take too long. You've got to spend a bit of time getting it structured and kind of writing down the process steps, maybe getting screen captures and really thinking about the flow, and working with an attorney. But you might end up with, say, 10 or 20 pages of description, right? But you can work with an attorney, and they'll take it and put it in the legal context as well. But it's more the process that takes forever. So some of these things can take a few years. Some of them can take 10 years to get the patent through.
Now, is it a complete waiting game? Like when once you go through the effort, which um, to complete the application and submit it, is it then just a waiting game, or is it a back and forth process where they're asking questions and you're supplying additional information?
Yeah, it's mostly a waiting game. You can put in a provisional patent, and that kind of holds your spot. I think it's for about a year or so. So that kind of, you get something in quickly, just even if it's a few pages of information or description, you file the provisional patent. That will hold your spot for the full patent for a year. And then within that year, you've got to get your full patent submitted. And then basically you're just waiting for the PTO examiner to take a look. And then if they have questions, they'll circle back with your attorney, and ask questions and things like that. And they'll look at which of the claims that you make are patentable, and they may discard some claims and approve others. So there is a bit of an interactive process there once the PTO starts to look at the patent.
Okay, interesting. I'm assuming AI is a super useful tool in creating the patent application.
Well, I'm sure it is now. Yeah, a lot of mine were just manual. So yeah, I'm sure it could do. I'm sure people are writing patents or using AI to generate patents, and they're probably creating one every 5 minutes or so now. So
I'm sure.
yeah.
I'm sure. So are you still providing advisory services to large corporations, or is Thinkers360 taking up most of your time?
Yeah, so Thinkers takes up most of the time, and so I'm working with brands to support them with their marketing campaigns often. So we work with customers like Cisco and SAP and EDB. They're an enterprise DB. They do the Postgres database. They've got kind of an AI platform, and it's an open source database. So yeah, we work with a lot of tech vendors. HCL is another one. IBM, Center for the Business of Government. So a lot of tech firms and consultancies, and so I work directly with them to help source authors, influencers, and speakers for their campaigns. And then what we do with the platform is we're amplifying the brand content as well as the individual's content. And we actually have another, talking about patents, we have a patent on the kind of the thought leadership ranking algorithm that looks at individuals' thought leadership portfolio and books and things like that. And so we rank individuals in over 100 different topics, and we publish thought leadership leaderboards on business and technology and digital badging. So we have kind of a badging system, a bit like Credly. So we have a lot of members on LinkedIn. You may see the Thinkers360 badges in their profiles. So it's a lot of fun supporting individuals as well, and really supporting them to promote their thought leadership, their content.
Well, not to pat myself on the back, but I just earned a badge on your website. So thank you very much for the recognition. And I need to put that in my profile because I am proud of it.
Great, great. Yeah, and it's actually the algorithm there is actually based on real hard to fake content, so things like books and so on. So the badge is actually well recognized, and it's hard to game. It's almost impossible to game the system. So a lot of the leaderboards out there, and part of the reason I founded Thinkers back in 2017 was a lot of the leaderboards people could just spam social media, use a lot of hashtags, and all of a sudden they're number one for AI or whatever it might be. So this really looks at the individual, their videos, their podcasts, their media interviews, their executive experience, whatever it might be, founder positions, books, and it's more of a hard to fake, robust measure of expertise. Which is kind of what we need right now, because there's just so many, on LinkedIn, for example, there's so many self-professed AI experts, right? So as a brand, you might need to find, okay, who's the real expert on this topic?
Right. And there's also a lot of, pay to play sites that are out there as well. So you got to be careful when you're looking at somebody's accreditations to make sure that they're legitimate, like yours are.
Yeah, we have free members on the platform, and many of them are number one in a certain topic. So it's kind of a freemium model, but even a free member can earn badges and rank in the leaderboards.
So Nick, you are a wealth of information in everything technology. What is the best way for people to contact you and to follow you?
Sure, they can email me at nick@thinkers360.com. That's 360.com. Thinkers360.com. And then I'm on LinkedIn. It's Nicholas Evans. Just on LinkedIn, should be able to find me. Or you can put in Nicholas Evans Thinkers360, and you find me that way.
Awesome. We'll definitely put that information in the show notes. Nick, thank you so much for taking the time today and being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Stephen. Great to be with you. And thanks for all the questions.
You bet. We'll catch up soon. Take care. Thank you for listening to another episode of Built to Finish. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do like and subscribe. It does help the show a lot and helps me get great guests like Nick on the show. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. That's a wrap for this episode of Built to Finish. Thank you for tuning in. For show notes and more details, head over to podcast.stephenpivnik.com. Special thank you to our sponsor, Accresis, offering tailored, high-impact advisory services that help founders get to their finish line with a strategic acquisition or majority investor recapitalization. Catch you next week.